Some lessons can't be found in a textbook. They have to be tasted, touched, and experienced. And that's why I'm so excited about this week's match of the week featuring Cultured. Cultured is a hands-on learning experience which helps families of all kinds explore global culture through food, storytelling, and creativity. So welcome, Charlotte.
I'm so
If,
excited to be here. Thank you.
if you could sum up Cultured in a few sentences, that would make someone stop and say, oh my gosh, I need that. That's what I've been looking for. What would it be and why?
We help families to bring global learning right to their homes. Not everyone has the opportunity to travel to different countries around the world. And we find that even the people that do, sometimes they just end up doing the touristy things, and not really getting a feel for the essence of the people whose lands they are exploring. And what we do with Cultured is we present you with a perspective into other humans' experience of the world. And through the curriculum that we have, we layer in the lessons that kids are learning at that particular grade level, such that they are practicing their math skills, their geography skills, but then at the same time, they're learning about different countries from around the world. And we make it such that they aren't just trying to appreciate other cultures, but we also teach them to appreciate theirs, to see beauty in the world around us, starting from home.
That is such an important thing to be able to look and to see beauty and to practice gratitude. And it's really exciting. If you had to say in 30 seconds, what is cultured and how does it specifically work for homeschoolers?
Homeschooling families have a tremendous opportunity to be able to explore in a way that is so flexible, right? And so we are stepping into that space where you can learn, where you can own your learning experience. We have a 9-week training with our Cultured Global Learning Kit. It comes with an educator guide for the parents. It comes with a student workbook for the student. And it also comes with artifacts from the country that the box is based on. And these items aren't just meant to be trinkets. They're supposed to bring the learning to life for the students. And so for example, in the Nigeria box that we have, there is a cowrie shell. At some point in the history of the country, cowries were used as currency. It's something that the kids can touch and feel. We have a prompt like, hey, like pick up the cowrie shell in your box. This was used as currency at some point. And from there we can layer in other learnings about the e economics of that country. So there's a grounding experience that students have even as they learn about different countries. And yes, we do source all the items directly from the country that the box is from as a way to honor the people and also support the local artisans in that country.
So neat. I know that you had mentioned you work with the local artisans that are in the country and the locals to find out really authentic experiences that you can share with people that are using cultured. What other countries? So you just gave an example of Nigeria. What other countries have you developed so far?
Nigeria is the only country that we have right now. Our next release would be at the start of next year. And I'm just going to be tight-lipped about that for now. And you just have
All
to.
right. Okay, so keep checking back in, right? So who is Charlotte? What experiences shaped your heart for connecting families through culture?
I was born and raised in Nigeria into a Christian family. I moved to the US about going on 6 years now. And when I first moved here, I really missed food from my country. I started out wanting to create an ethnic themed restaurant. And in hindsight, I actually see that I was focused more on the ambiance of the place, the kinds of clothing that was worn by the people that served. I am in Texas right now, and I was very adamant that sweet tea would not be served, just local drinks. And my whole thought was I wanted to create a space where when people stepped into that area, they felt like they were in my home country, and for a second they had left the US. Fast forward to right now, what I'm doing is still trying to communicate culture. I actually see that when I first moved there were a lot of conflicts that I had with people just because the baseline of meaning was just very different. When people look at me or hear me speak, it's easy for them to not really understand that the lived experiences that we have are so different.
Mm.
Because even if English is the language that I speak, I I lived and was raised in a whole different country. And so most of the references and the contexts that you have are vastly different from what I have. The words that we use, they carry different meanings. And so that led me to what I'm doing now, trying to create that bridge between cultures so people can see other people in a way that is more representative of who they are, in a way that is more generous, in a way that is more kind.
That's beautiful. What's an example? You said words have different meanings. Give us an example of how you saw that play out.
Okay, so in one of the places that I worked at some point, being old in my country is a thing of honor and of pride. In fact, young people are not really listened to, and maybe things are starting to shift. But typically in a group, it's the oldest person's voice who is heard.
Hmm.
And so we really honor older people. So I worked at a place and I came across one of the members of the C-suite. It was an org where, people were, just very friendly and the environment was generally casual. And so I was trying to be kind and I referred to him as a kind old man to someone else. And he heard it, and let's just say he never spoke to me after that. It wasn't until later on that I really saw how people think about growing old here and how things are just very different. When people do not want to be seen as old because it could mean that you're going out of fashion or you aren't keeping up with the trends or things like that. But the perspective that I had was very different. When I was speaking, in my heart, I was coming from a place of honor. But when he received what I was saying, it was just different on his end. And now I understand.
That is a great story. So you were talking about the restaurant and the feeling that you wanted people to experience, and I assume that you would want that same feeling when they are interacting with cultured, and especially this first box from Nigeria. What are some words you would use to describe that feeling, whether that would be through atmosphere or through emotion that you would want people to experience?
When you open the cultured box, the first thing that you see is it's just a burst of colors. It's very tangible and sensory, and that's just the way that I like it. But I would actually like to answer this from the lens of the people who have gotten our boxes in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have told me, so not just people from Nigeria, or I could even start there. So I initially thought that people from Nigeria may not see value in the box because it's based on their country. So
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't matter as much. But I actually found that they liked it a lot because it brought back memories from their childhood. Like they smiled so brightly because you're like, oh my goodness, like I have not seen this in such a long time. This reminds me of when I was in XYZ. And so that feeling of nostalgia for people who are from
Mm-hmm.
that culture. And then for other people from other places, I think there's the curiosity, like people just here, open the different snacks and they're trying everything. Most people wouldn't like every single snack that is there, and so we try to provide a variety of items. So for me, when I go to a new culture and I'm trying food, I typically don't expect to necessarily like everything, but I
Mm-hmm.
go there just trying to have an experience to learn more about these people and to just give myself something different. And so I have seen some of that. In some of the classrooms where our boxes have been used, I actually heard from one of the teachers, and she mentioned how the kiddos, they actually had a learning experience. I think they had tried one of the snacks before they read through the book. And
Mhm.
in the book, we talk about how to be kind when you try, a food from someone else's culture that you may not like. And she talked about how the kids just had this moment of repentance, and I was just so thrilled because I'm like, okay, that's a very quick turn around, like a very quick learning cycle. And so those are some of the things that I've seen. Some people really enjoyed the games. They got the box when they had a group of people coming over, and it was just a really fun activity. And yeah.
I love that. Okay, so walk me through if I'm a homeschool or a micro school and I get this box from Cultured and I open it. What do I see?
When you open it, you would see the artifacts from the country, and underneath it would be the books that you need. Depending on the box that you get, if you're a homeschool parent and you get one cultured box, and in that box, you will get the educator guide and one student workbook. But if you're getting this for a school, maybe the books will be packed in a different way. But when you get that book, you would be able to have access to 9 different lessons. These lessons, we recommend at least an hour, but we break it down such that it's flexible. We divide the lessons into lesson blocks, and we put like time periods by each of the blocks. So that way, if you have 2 to 3 hours, you can allocate more time to the sections that you want based on your learning goals. And if you think that you would want some blocks and not the others, you actually have that option. Something that you would also find as a parent is we have done all of the work for you. And so for each of the lessons, we have the background notes that actually go on to teach about the different concepts that the students would have on their end. So that way you wouldn't have to do any extra work trying to learn, but you can really lead that experience. If there's any math to it, we actually solve out every single thing. So I would say the main parts of the educator guide, for each of the lessons, you would have the introduction that shows you the lesson blocks and the breakdown. You're going to have the background notes. You're also going to have the step-by-step lesson plan where we go on to even be as prescriptive as saying you can ask this question and we tell you exactly what to ask. But that is just for people that get the lesson and they aren't sure what to do. So that way you can pick up this lesson, and within maybe 10 minutes of prep time, it can still be a very fruitful session. But it's designed to be very hands-on for you.
Wonderful. And that would, I think a lot of times homeschoolers call something like that open and go. So the mom doesn't have to put a lot of prep work in. They just get the box, they can open it. They're going to see that beautiful colored fabric like you talked about. Their kids will see snacks and they'll be ready to just kind of dive into a cultural experience. Very cool.
There's also other items in the box, like there's games or other things that points maybe the history. Yeah, it's such a
Very
fun.
cool. Very cool. Well, as a lifelong learner yourself, what's the biggest lesson we're always encouraging our kids to grow up and to really tap into their unique callings? What's the biggest lesson that you've learned as a business owner?
I have learned to give myself a lot of grace and be comfortable in the fact that I don't know everything and I don't have to. There's this whole concept of just doing the next right thing. I may not be able to plan out all of my steps, but there is a blessing in doing what I know to do and actually stepping forward versus being paralyzed because I'm trying to analyze every single step. I've also seen how people People are the greatest asset in a business. My team, I am absolutely thankful because there are times when they birth my vision even better than I
Mm.
would have been able to. There are times when I would take a stab at doing something and I hand it over to them, and what they come up with is way better than what I would have thought. And so, I mean, in those moments, I either have the option to feel insecure because someone can do something better than I can, or to be grateful that I have someone who
Mm.
sees the vision, loves it as much as I do, and is pouring their heart and their soul. And so I've really learned to honor the people that work with me and the people that I meet. I've also really learned the whole concept of seed time and harvest. The class
Mm.
wallet, the class wallet opportunity that I had, I sent the very first scrappy cultured box that I had to someone who worked at a different company at the time. And I didn't hear back. Crickets. Prior to that
Mm.
time, she had given me a whole 2 hours of her time, just really talking me through what the homeschool world was like. It was really great. And then after I sent her the box, I texted, I called, and I just
Mm.
thought it must really have been that bad, you know? And he probably just doesn't want to tell me. But it wasn't until 10 months later, out of the blues, she texted me. And what is so interesting about the timing of it all was I was on a prayer walk, and I think I had been working really hard in at that time, and I just felt so stressed. And I decided to just, leave everything I was doing and just step outside and just spend some time with the Lord and air my heart out. And I think I may have prayed a specific prayer, and then out of the blues, this person texts me. She was now working at Class Wallet, and she thought of me when she heard about someone else doing a business like mine that was doing very well on the platform, and she reached out. If
Mm.
I didn't, and I remember after I sent that first box to her and I didn't hear back, I felt like, wow, like this was, like a waste of effort. I felt like I had put in effort in so many places, but I was seeing little fruit. But something that I've seen is, just because you plant something right now, doesn't mean that you get the fruit right now. Like there's a patience that comes with this. There, time happens. I think there's a scripture that says that the farmer, he plants a seed, and
Mhm.
night and day, night and day, night and day, and then it sprouts up, and he doesn't know how it grows. And so I have learned to just do my own job, which is to plant seeds and also to be patient to see what the Lord does with the 5 loaves that I bring, and to be grateful.
So beautiful. You captured the heart so much of, I think, a parent, and planting seeds in your children and watching for them to bloom over time. So, as we close out our time today, what is one tip that you would give to a parent who's just struggling and they're trying to engage their kids in learning, and they have a resource like yours, but what would one tip be that you would share with them?
I would say meet your kids where they are and not where you would like them to be.
Mm.
So, for example, the first cultured box that I put out, it was really scrappy. Honestly, it was scrappy. I wasn't proud of it. But I do know that that was what I had at that time. That was the best that I could do in terms of birthing my vision into the world. That was what I had to
Mm.
offer. And so with kids, and when it comes to learning is a very organic process, right? And so how does your kid learn best? Where are they in their learning journey? I really love to learn, and something that I know about education just in general is that it's not about learning the facts, but I think what we really want to teach kids is how to learn, because the world that we are in right now is one where the facts by themselves are changing every single day. And so if someone gets skilled in knowing just facts, then they wouldn't be able to keep up when new things come up. And so if we can figure out how kids learn and teach them how to learn better, I think that would be the greatest gift. I think it's the soft skills, like the system of learning. I think that's the greatest gift that we can give to a child.
Yeah, loving to learn is something that no one can ever take away from our kids, right? So, well, thank you for joining us today, Charlotte. What a beautiful reminder that learning isn't just really about memorizing facts, right? It's about planting seeds, it's about connecting, and that when families maybe explore together, culture becomes a bridge and not a boundary. So, everybody head on over to matchitcommunity.com, check out this match of the week. And remember what you do matters, that you're building something lasting. Like Charlotte said, you are planting seeds and you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to do it purposefully. Together, we can unleash the full potential of all of our children. So thanks so much. And Charlotte, thanks again.